Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I had a pretty big craving for some Jamaican beef patties, so I decided to try making some by myself. It was actually my first time trying out this recipe, but nonetheless, I hope you still enjoy it. Now, the first thing I did was prepare my patty dough. I added 2 cups of flour, 2 teaspoons of turmeric, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, a half a cup of margarine, and then I gave it a mix. At this point, I then added a half a cup of cold milk, and I kneaded all of those ingredients together. Once I finished kneading my dough, I just set it aside, and then I started working on marinating my ground beef. So I'm using 1 pound of ground beef, which I've already washed and patted dry. I'm going to marinate it with my green seasoning. The components and measurements used in my green seasoning are in the description box below, so be sure to check it out. I'm then going to add half a teaspoon of allspice, half a teaspoon of curry powder, half a teaspoon of paprika, 1/8 a teaspoon of chili powder because the chili powder that I use is super spicy, but if you do love spicy, then go ahead and add some more. A half a teaspoon of MSG, which I know some people do not use in their food, and that's absolutely fine because it is optional. 1 teaspoon of Caribbean spice and roasted garlic seasoning, and 1 teaspoon of Montreal steak seasoning. I'm then going to give that a nice mix until all of the ingredients are marinated with the ground beef. So at this point I'm ready to cook my beef. Once my oil is hot, I'm going to add my beef to the pot, giving it a nice stir. After a couple of minutes, I'm going to add my stock to add a nice thickness and gravy to my beef. My stock consists of 2 tablespoons of flour and a half a cup of chicken stock that I've just whisked together. And once again, all of my measurements and the ingredients are in the description box below. I'm just going to continue stirring for a couple of minutes and then take it off the heat to dry down a little because you don't want your filling to be too runny. Now while that dries down a little, we can start working on creating our patty. All I've done is section my dough into flattened round pieces like you see here, and then I'm going to roll it out and add some Canadian cheddar cheese. This is definitely optional. I just really like a lot of cheese. Then I'm going to add a nice amount of ground beef on top, and then egg wash around my pastry to help it not burst open in the oven. Then I'm going to fold it in half like I'm doing here and use the back of a fork to press down my pastry. If you find that your fork is sticking to your pastry, you can lightly dip it in some flour. Now, once you are done creating your patties, you're just going to glaze over it with some egg wash and put it in the oven for about 12 to 18 minutes at 420 degrees. Alright guys, there you have it, your Jamaican style beef patties. Now if you like your patties to have a more toasty texture, then go ahead and pop them in the toaster oven if you have one, or keep them baking for a bit longer than I did. I took mine out of the oven at around the 12-minute mark. I hope you liked this recipe, and if you did, like, share, subscribe, and leave all your comments below. Thanks for watching.